Ed and Lorraine Warren are back in theaters this weekend for one final haunted house. So let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comments section. Let me know, what did you think about the latest Conjuring film, and what do you think about the franchise in general? With that said, let's get started. And when it comes to the Conjuring franchise, I think that the first two Conjuring movies are two of the best horror movies of the last 15 years. They didn't really reinvent the genre at all. They were just great examples of what you can do with a haunted house movie. And a big part of that was that it's based on the Warrens that were real demonologists. Now, there's all sorts of controversy where they frauds, all that stuff, other scandals surrounding them, but they were real people that were actually married, that did actual investigations, and the movies were based on actual cases where certain things were documented. Was it a hoax? Was it fraud? I have no idea. But the fact that there was some basis in reality gave kind of boundaries for what they could do with the stories, and it just gave a veracity, a truthfulness to the movies. They didn't feel like they went crazy into the fantastical, though of course there were embellishments. Of course, the third acts of all of these movies were entirely fabricated, but there were boundaries for what they could do with the stories that I think just gave a reality to the films. You could believe into the reality of the films because there was some ties to our reality. And the other big piece to that, of course, was James Wan, who is one of the best horror directors of the 21st century, in which case he did great world building that once again was able to build the reality of the film to really feel like it echoed our reality. And just a lot of practical effects in there that just had a intensity to them, and he's a master of horror. And since those two original films, the quality has varied greatly. Some of them have been very mediocre and forgettable. Some of them have been fairly decent. But one of the things that has always been very charming about these films is that relationship between Ed and Lorraine Warren, that they're just very likable people that are much stronger characters than what you normally get in these films. And to summarize my feelings on the movie, it's a emotionally satisfying send-off for the Warrens. It delivers enough creepy and scary moments to deliver what you expect from the franchise, but it also is a pretty flawed film, and it feels like the franchise is running out of gas a little bit. And as this movie is meant to be the send-off, I guess, for this phase of the Conjuring franchise, it is the end of this journey with these actors in these roles, they really wanted to lean into that. And in a lot of ways, that's the best and the worst thing about this movie in certain ways. That it's a film that leans so heavily into their personal life and their daughter's love life, how she joined the family business, that's not just kind of like they're great characters in the middle of a haunted house story. This is a story about their family, and there's also a story about this haunted house in a different state. There's two main plot lines, which means the movie gets very long and very stretched out because of that. Today's video is brought to you by the Wednesday Season 2 official Woecast. Hey Nightshades, are you looking for something to scratch that Wednesday itch while you're waiting for Season 2 Part 2 to drop? Try checking out the official Wednesday Season 2 Woecast. Prepare to dive deeper into the mysteries of Wednesday with the ultimate companion video podcast. Join the frightfully funny Caitlin Riley along with her producer Thing as she sits down with the marvelously macabre cast and crew. Together they'll unravel each shocking twist, dissect the dynamics lurking beneath, unearth the deep Addams Family lore, and answer all of your lingering questions that simply refuse to stay buried. Guests include Emma Myers, Joyce Sunday, Hunter Doohan, Steve Buscemi, Fred Armisen, Catherine Zeta-Jones, the Joanne Lumley, and also show creators Al Gough and Miles Miller, and of course, Wednesday Addams herself, Jenna Ortega. With 8 delightfully dark episodes to devour, you'll be drawn deeper into the haunting halls of Nevermore Academy than ever before. But beware, you know where curiosity often leads. The Wednesday Season 2 official Woecast is available in audio and video on Tudum, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcast. You have been warned. My favorite moments in the movie are family moments, the little interpersonal little bits, the way that it does kind of show them growing, changing, pouring into their daughter, their concerns, their faults as parents, the way they grow as parents. That's some of the best stuff in the movie. But I didn't go to see a family drama about the Warrens. I went to go see a haunted house movie. I went to go see a horror movie. And there's big, gigantic stretches in the movie that are way over here talking about the Warrens, literally in a different state, and engagements and all this kind of stuff over here. And there's point in times where big, gigantic things happen at the haunted house, and we cut to not the horrible event, but like a person being pulled out of a house in a stretcher, and you're like, what happened? Like, that's what I showed up for, and you skipped over that. And it feels like all of that is almost an afterthought in the movie. Whereas if you watch kind of the first 2 Conjuring films, the Warrens are sort of an afterthought for the first hour of the films before they join the investigation. They're like the subplot because it's about the haunting. Here it reverses that. The haunting is the subplot. And that kind of makes the movie feel very stretched out because we're just not getting enough of the percentage of the movie that's what we're there for is not big enough. And I think the other thing that kind of I felt with the movie is as the franchise has gone on longer and longer, in order to continue to shock and surprise audiences, I feel like they have to get more grandiose and more spectacular with what happens with the hauntings. And that veracity, that air of truth that I felt in the first 2 Conjuring movies kind of completely disappears. And what I mean by that is, like, you can look up whether Wikipedia, articles, videos, books on the hauntings that were covered in the first 2 Conjuring films. And so much of what happens in the first hour of those films is based off of actual things that they reported, like little claps or little noises, chairs moving, police showing up and a chair did something strange, spoons being bent. It's stuff that's like creepy, weird. I don't know what really did happen, but there's something to it where you go, all right, that's reported in a police document. Here, it's like glass shows up in someone's stomach. And it's just like everything from the get-go is just so much more elevated and spectacular and sensational to where you always feel like you're watching a movie. And even the way that it's structured with like things coming back again, it's all very cinematic. Which it actually took me out of the movie. Because instead of feeling like I bought into the reality that was like, all right, where's the line between what happened and didn't happen? Just from the very beginning, I was like, I just know that I'm watching a completely fictionalized version of the Warrens. This isn't what happened. This isn't remotely what happened. There's no air of truth to any of this. Like, I know I'm watching a movie. Like, I know they've always exaggerated everything, even from the reports that themselves might have been fabricated. Like, I know that. But it's just everything is so cranked up that it actually becomes less effective. The smaller, simple scares of the first Conjuring movies were much more effective than the more grandiose things here. And I know I'm being pretty negative. I don't mean to oversell the negativity, because generally speaking, I enjoyed the movie enough. It worked well enough for me. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as the first 2 movies, because none of the Conjuring movies have been as good as the first 2 official mainline Conjuring films. The 2 directed by James Wan, I think, are far and way ahead, better than the rest of them. So it felt pretty well in line with my expectations, which is to say, as the franchise has gone along, there's kind of been dwindling returns, and they just have to like amplify the spectacle to continue to hold our attention. And superficially, it's fun, and like the image and the sequence with the broken glass is like really shocking. Oh, it's horrible. It's nasty. When you get into the third act and some of the stuff that kind of goes on and the way that the family gets involved with everything, it works. It's emotionally works. Like it's set up cinematically to set up payoff. And so it works, but it doesn't have the power that kind of came with just me really buying into the reality of the first two films. And that's kind of what just kind of felt like to me. Of like they're delivering all the things that they know people want from the main Conjuring films. So you get a lot of the Warrens, and we really want to pay that off. And you got to have scares, and this might be there might be more gore in this one, just more nasty stuff, or maybe just first time watching it, but like it felt like there's some pretty nasty stuff. And also I'm weird about glass. It can freak me out, glass injuries. So maybe it's just that. But so that was just kind of the general feeling of, as a Conjuring movie, I got what I wanted out of it, but they get a lot better than this. Or the first two are a lot better than this. They get a lot worse than this. They get a lot more generic than this too. So I feel like it's probably a good thing that they're closing out this era of the franchise here, because I just don't know that there's much more to mine out of it. Like, we've done the haunted house, we've played out Ed and Lorraine, they really love each other, and they've got a daughter. Their daughter even had her own movie, Annabelle Comes Home. So I think this is the right time to end it. This is an emotionally satisfying conclusion by kind of playing out the journey of their love story, their family, how it closes out. You go like, yeah, that's a nice end off. It doesn't trip up, it doesn't really embarrass itself or anything like that. But also, it's really not doing anything new. I feel like the director of this film has gotten better with each movie that he's directed. This is his fourth movie set in the Conjuring universe, but only his third movie in the Conjuring franchise, because that's the way they describe the Curse of La Llorona. It's in the Conjuring universe. It's not in the Conjuring franchise. So this is his fourth movie. I feel like each time he gets a little bit more assured as a director and is able to kind of make the emotional moments work a little bit better. And so then that, once again, helps here a little bit. But it's kind of too long. There's too much time on the family, on stuff that I didn't show up for. But like I said, it's a good enough Conjuring movie that has all the stuff that I want. If you like Conjuring movies, you definitely need to go see it. Real quick, before I give my final thoughts, be sure to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on the film. Also, come back over this weekend. I will be ranking all 10 movies in the Conjuring universe. The 9 in the franchise, plus the other one in the universe, Curse of La Llorona. If you're a fan of the Conjuring universe, you should check out this film. It is a satisfying send-off for the Warrens that delivers all the stuff that you want from a Conjuring film. But it is too long, it has pacing issues because it's been so much time on the family drama and not enough on the haunted house itself, and it just feels a little bit played out. But if you like these movies, there's a lot here that you will enjoy. Overall, it's a B- on the entertainment scale, a 7 out of 10. And it's worth seeing for Conjuring fans. Otherwise, you can just wait to stream this one at home. Be sure to come back this weekend where you can check out my ranking of all 10 movies in the Conjuring universe. 9 in the franchise, 1 outside of the franchise, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.